The past is the future. This is a very important statement. This is a very important topic. And this has taken me a number of years to understand or to get a grasp of. So what we're going to talk about today, continuing on the theme that we're moving ahead and we're incorporating all ideas and we're taking it to a more advanced level. And if you're not able to follow, then go back to previous work. If you want to try and follow, try and follow. Now, advanced means you need to be able to put different things together, and not everything is officially stamped with evidence and proof. But there's enough evidence, there's enough discussion, there's enough theory, there's enough hypothesis to fabricate something that we can use to go forward. Because otherwise, we won't go forward. Otherwise, we will be dwelling in a very primitive state of understanding. And personally, I don't want to be in this primitive state. So again, we're moving forward with all the research that we have. Right? There's no messages. This is research. This is understanding. This is our analysis so far. We've talked about timelines. So I'm going to talk about timelines. Because what has happened is the timeline has been split. Whump. They split the timeline. And one timeline is for them, the elites, the cabal, the second civilization, the secret space program group, right? That's the one timeline. Advanced technology, advanced science, magic, advanced understanding, connection to extraterrestrials, cooperation with extraterrestrials, spaceships, bases on the moon. That's the second civilization. Underground cities, underground civilizations. That's a second civilization. That is one timeline. That is an advanced timeline that has been influenced, impacted by the cooperation with advanced races of people from other star systems, dimensions, worlds, galaxies, you name it. The other timeline is us. The other timeline is us. It is a degraded timeline. It is a low frequency timeline full of war, full of pollution, full of disease, poison air, poison food, poison water, limited lifespan, no space travels. Aliens don't exist on this timeline. There's no advanced technology. We haven't invented it yet. We will get there someday. That's the timeline. And that's this timeline, our timeline, the bulk of humanity. This timeline leads to nowhere. You see, there are cosmic laws. Cosmic laws is you're not allowed to wipe out an entire civilization. That's mass extinction. It's against the law. If you're going to mass extinct a planet, then the more advanced cultures are going to come here and says, no, we can't let you do that. So they intercede, they shut off the machines, they turn off the nukes. But the cabal, the second civilization, they want to get rid of all these people. Well, if we can't mass extinct them, we will poison the air, food, and water. We will create disease. We will cause war, drug addiction. Drug addiction is killing more people than the Vietnam War. You see? If they can't kill you through war, they'll kill you through some other method. because the goal is to keep you low vibration, to reduce your population, to have the population cannibalize itself, so that over a long period of time, what happens? See, it's going down. Over a long period of time, this timeline ends. It's a dead end, is what I'm saying. It doesn't go anywhere. A, it doesn't go anywhere. B, we will destroy each other. We will wear each other out. We will die of disease. Right? Our food will be inedible. You know, whatever it is, right? Whether there's a solar event, the climate weapons, whatever it is, over time, it doesn't happen instantly, but over years and decades, it leads to a dead end. In other words, extinction. This timeline leads to extinction. Yes, we will try to improve things here, and we will try to make people happy. We will give them democracy and freedom on their way to the end. Right? Because if you're focused on freedom and democracy, you don't see what's really happening. Is that we are on the wrong timeline. It doesn't matter what you do. So let me use an analogy, a metaphor. You're on a road. The road leads to a cliff. Well, you're driving down the road and your friend says, hey, eat some organic food. Loosen your seatbelt. Listen to some music. But it doesn't change the fact that there's a cliff at the end of the road. Right? So we're in this party bus going down this dead end. It's a dead end. Now, again, it's not instant. This is the crux of the problem. This is why we need to really extend our understanding. It's not an immediate extinction. It's a prolonged extinction. It's a delayed extinction, filled with all kinds of nice ideas. Female empowerment, democracy, freedom. Right? One day we will cure this disease. 50 years ago, I was there, or almost there. I was in that period where they said, we will cure cancer in 5 years. And every 5 years they said, we have achieved so much. In the next 5 years, we will double it. We have more money going to cancer than ever before. And for everything, you just list the topic, right? Pollution, war, drug addiction, everything. Go through everything. We will cure it. We will end it. We will end poverty. I remember that. We will end poverty. There are more people who are poor today than before. There is more cancer today than there was before. Cancer has now gone down. The last cancer rates I saw over the last 10-year period showed no change, or there was less than 1% change. So all of these cures, all of this money, all of this intention, all of this leadership, end to war, end to oil, end to cancer, end to disease, end to drug addiction, end to terrorism. It doesn't end because we are on the wrong timeline. And they're just going to keep saying that until we go over the cliff. And people are going to believe, I believe one day, right? So you're fighting for all these beliefs on a dead-end road. So it's not the belief is the problem. The beliefs, there's nothing wrong with the beliefs. We are on the wrong timeline. So where's the right timeline? That's the question, right? Where do I get the information of the right timeline? And how can I know, how can I be certain that we split. Because I think we split. We fundamentally split the timeline in 1939 on September 1st, which is the start of World War II. World War II. Now, let's go back a little bit to 1929. 1929, there was the collapse of the economy, right? The economic collapse, the depression, economic depression. Wall Street crashes. 1929. The crash leads to fundamental changes in Europe, the rise of, right? The rise of the Nazi regime in Germany, because the German economy was flatlined. So the rise of the Third Reich was in the early 30s, following the crash. The system was crashed. And the crash led to, 9 or 10 years of poverty, depression, angst, suffering, pain. And then 1939 is the start. Now, when I started studying the androids, when I discovered the android, the synthetic humans on Capitol Hill, the 3 key individuals, which I have concluded are not organic humans. Whether they're androids or synthetic humans or synthetic clones of people, that we can discuss at a later date, but they are not organic humans. They were created, and they were created 1939, 1940, 1941. They were created at the start of World War II. Now, why would an advanced agency, the people who created the androids, why would they be creating people as the world is heading into war? And why would they create people who would then go into the highest levels of American political power? Is that all a coincidence? Is that all an accident? Well, no, these people are very advanced. They're very smart. They have a plan. Their plan collapses economies and creates world wars and manufactures artificial humans. Now, that is a very advanced level. That is well beyond conventional science. That is at a level where people will call me names. But you're calling me names because these people are thousands of years ahead of us. And the primitives, the primitive mind, are going to call me names. And that's okay, because we know that there are primitive people here. Because they've been educated to be primitive, and they've lived on a timeline that has been repressed, suppressed, and censored. So the androids of my 3 key people, the 2 male senators and the female, who is probably the most powerful female politician in America, the most powerful nation in the world, the superpower. This is not an accident. And there are others that we've identified, and there are others we still haven't identified who are also up at the upper echelon, right? But let's work with what we have. 1939, 1940, 1941, these people were manufactured. World War II starts. That's the split. Now, following 1939, in the 1930s and 1940s, through our secret space program whistleblowers, we're getting information that the Nazis and the Germans were cooperating with extraterrestrials and were building back-engineered technology, back-engineered ships. Later on, they went to the moon and built bases on the moon. All of this underground, kept in secret, hence secret space program. So while the second civilization was forming, the first civilization was dragged through a terrible World War II, and then the detonation of 2 nuclear bombs, hydrogen bombs, in Japan, and then the fundamental change of power from the German to the American. Or some people say the Germans just took over some of the American power. In any case, I'm not a political scientist. Geopolitics is not my specialty. My specialty is not politics, political science. But looking at my Android research, right? Now go back, 1929, there is a financial crash. 9 or 10 years later, there is a World War II. World War II, the time of World War II, the androids are made. Look at, we won't go back further because I can go back, we can talk about the Spanish flu. It's a more complicated discussion, but the Spanish flu, 1918. Spanish flu, and then there was encephalitis lethargica, which is a mysterious illness that put people in a comatose state and killed people. Spanish flu killed a lot of people. A lot of people died from some biological weapon, 1918, and the encephalitis lethargica went until 1928, 1929. So it's like 10 years. There was a mysterious illness called encephalitis lethargica. Not much is written about it. Not that I can find. It's a mysterious, there's no understanding of it. We don't know the cause. We don't know how it happened. We don't know why it happened. 1918 to 1928 is when people were dying. 1929, there's a financial crash. And then that poverty and suffering led to the rise of a new power and a war. And under all of that, you have extraterrestrials meeting with these elites, forming the cabal. It's 1930s, right? The German elites, the secret societies, the Thule Society. Underneath the poverty of the world, there's this extraterrestrial contact, influence, share of technology, re-engineering. Now, you dial forward, let's dial forward to 2008, 2009. Because when I discovered the androids, I discovered them in 2008. I released the information in 2010. But the discovery was 2008. And the discovery was very interesting because in 2008, in September, there was a financial rescue in America, or a financial crash, an imminent financial crash that required the government to provide a financial rescue. 2008, 2009. Now, my research says because the androids were involved, I suggest that the 1929 crash, 80 years prior, also was engineered. Now, I write about this. You can see it in the documentary. I do cover some of it. And in the book, I do talk about this. This is a very fundamental, this is an important part of the android discovery. That there are shared similarities between the crash of 2008, 2009. And if you recall, there was a flu outbreak. The H1N1 outbreak was a deadly, it was promoted as by the World Health Organization, said that this flu will kill people and everyone has to be inoculated. And they were projecting deaths, lots and lots of deaths for the H1N1 in 2009, which followed the financial crash. So you have a flu and you have a financial crash and you have the Android. The Android is kind of the key. It is the skeleton key. Because in 2018 to 1918 to 1929, you have a flu and you have a financial crash. But what we don't know is the Android, because we don't have enough research. I haven't done enough research to decide who were synthetic humans at that time. But there's a number of these pieces match the 1929 with the 2009 and 80 years apart. But we know this, the crash in 1929 led to World War II after about 10 years. And it was intended that 2009 would have led to another kind of war, right? There was going to be a war on terrorism. There was going to be a war in the Middle East. None of that manifested because, again, there has been intervention. There has been a shift in consciousness. Because if there wasn't a shift, the past would have been repeated and the timeline would have been shifted again. We're already on a dead end, but it's far into the distance. Had another timeline shift occurred following the financial crash of 2009, it would have been a more immediate end. I think there was an intervention. Again, I write about all of this, so we can only cover so much in a video discussion. But there are these shared similarities. Deadly flu outbreak, financial crash leads to war. Deadly flu outbreak, 2009. Deadly flu outbreak, financial crash would have led to some kind of global calamity, a war, some kind of war. That's what I've suggested in my writings. But we know in 1939 there was a split. And the Android is the skeleton key. There is so much information there that it's, there's so much data to unpack this, to decode the data. It's taken me years. So I discovered in 2008, it took me 2 years to figure it out. And I released my information in 2010. Over the next 2 years, I went through edits and changes, and I had to do a lot of research and study into microbiology to understand what was going on. And I'm still unpacking it. Because the android, the synthetic humans, are extremely advanced. We don't have the technology to do it. But somebody did it in 1939. An advanced agency. Not the cabal. And not the aliens. Not the extraterrestrials. I suggest that it's another agency. And people will ask, well, who is it? Well, I don't know. There's no way for me to know at this point because they have not identified themselves. A. B, they're extremely advanced. They're more advanced and more intelligent than me, right? Who has very limited resources. Who's had a very difficult time explaining the android discovery to people. They've taken, it's almost 10 years for people to think it's plausible, right? And the android theory has not been debunked yet. right? Synthetic humans. So who is this third agency? But so A, we know they're very advanced. B, we know they understand timelines. We, meaning my theory is they're very advanced. They're at least 1,000 years in scientific and technological standard. Not age necessarily. Science and technology is at least 1,000 years ahead of us. Able to manufacture a human being, able to give a human being a soul, able to manipulate and engineer DNA at an advanced level. And we don't know how long they've been here, how long they've been manufacturing people. But if you can manufacture people in 1939, we don't know how far back that goes, right? I suggest it goes at least into the late 1800s. But probably more. It's just that we don't have the data or the information or the knowledge to really find out who it is and how it's been happening. We only have this information today because of all of our technology, right? I could not have discovered the androids if I didn't have a video camera and cable television. Well, there was no cable television and video camera in 1898, right? So the only reason I have achieved any amount of discovery is because I had access to technology and I have this ability to really extrapolate data from a very innocuous data set or event. So this agency is advanced. They're ahead of us. They're smarter than me. They know the future. They can shape the future. They have synthetic humans all over the world. Let's assume, let's infer they have them all over the world. Let's infer they can do other things too. If they can know the future, they say they can alter the future. They can change people's course in life. They can change your goals. They can change your thoughts. They can nudge you left and right. That keeps them on top. If I'm going to discover something about them, they can nudge me over and I don't discover it. Unless I can nudge myself back. For some reason, I've managed to discover a certain amount. Sure, people want more, people want more, people want more, but you know, we are dealing with a very advanced agency. I'm a person with very limited resources, limited intelligence. So in light of all, you know, all of my handicaps, I think I've done quite a bit. Of course, it's not enough, right? It's not enough. You should have figured it all out. How dare you? How dare you didn't figure it all out? Didn't figure out these advanced people. Now, why is the past the future? Because the past is full of technology. The past is full of advanced ideas. The past is full of advanced science. The past is full of extraterrestrial contact. 1930s. There's all of this stuff happening. It leads to the creation of a second civilization. That's the future. They took the ideas and science and technology that was meant for the whole planet and they sequestered it and they took it for themselves and they gave us a little bit, right? Just so that we wouldn't ask too many questions, right? Hey, we got a mobile phone. Wow. Did you see that? And we got the internet. Wow. Meanwhile, these guys are they're flying out in space. They got a more advanced internet. They got a better mobile phone. They don't have a mobile phone. They have some kind of crystal tablet. They took everything better and they gave us this just to keep us quiet, right? You know, when you have kids, you give your kid a chocolate and say, keep quiet. Let dad watch the football game. And every time the kid says something, you give him something else. Right? Meanwhile, the second civilization was built. So the past has all of the technology, all of the science, all of the ideas, the magic, the contact with advanced beings, the life on other planets, bases on other planets, civilizations inside the earth, ancient ruins, ancient technologies abandoned, right? Derelict spaceships here on the earth, derelict bases here on the earth that have been gutted out, more technology taken. That is the past. It's full of advanced thinking. And that's why the past is the future. We are heading towards a dead end. The existing future is heading towards a dead end. And I encourage you to think about this. Think about the past as being the future. And think about some ideas of the past, whether it's through a book or through a film or through a scientific discovery, that shows you the kind of science, the kind of ideas that we have lost, that we have abandoned. Think about that, because that is the key. We need to go back. I'm not sure how we can do it. I'm not suggesting, again, people always say, gee, Paris has said this and this and this, but he doesn't have a solution. He hasn't figured it all out. No, I haven't figured it all out. How can I figure out everything about an advanced agency and everything is kept secret unless I can go there and talk to people, which I can't. Right? You think they're going to divulge all this information? Right? It's crazy. So we're going to have to speculate. We're putting pieces together. How right I am, we'll find out in the future, right? I am putting the pieces of the puzzle together, formulating ideas that can help prevent our imminent, inevitable end, demise. Because I think we're on a road to nowhere. And it goes on to nowhere for so long that eventually we just die off, right? It's a dead end. You know, I use the analogy, they're on the highway heading to the big city, and we're on the dirt road. Not the side road, but a dirt road in a car that's old. All right? We got a certain amount of food. We got a certain amount of gas. So to get to the city, it's very far. We won't get to the city because we're going to run out of gas, we're going to run out of food, or the car is going to fall apart. Right? Any of these scenarios will occur way before we get to the city. Right? Meanwhile, they're on the highway. The second civilization is on the highway, and they're going to get there pretty quick. And they're going to get there and say, well, where did the other guys go? Well, I guess they didn't make it. Too bad. Hey, we didn't do it. We didn't do it. They didn't make it. It's not our fault we bumped them off the highway and threw them down the dirt road. They'll say, hey, well, it happens. It was an accident. Right? Cosmic law. Although they caused our extinction, they didn't extinct us. We died off. It's a die-off. It's like a die-off road. So I think the solution is we need to go back somehow to the past. Now, that will include accepting the reality we have extraterrestrial contact, right? Which that's a big step for most people because they need proof. I need proof. I cannot think unless I have the proof. We need to go back to the past because that's where advanced ideas are. They're building bases. They've built bases on the moon. There's underground cities. They've back-engineered spaceships. We have spaceship. We have our space fleet. We have captured spacecraft. There are derelict spacecraft, alien craft, alien bases, abandoned. Here, now. Right? Look at Antarctica, the Antarctica discovery. There's lots of stuff there to start. Now, sure, a lot of stuff has been sequestered, so we're not going to get everything. But if we go back to that, if we go back to these discoveries, these abandoned bases, extraterrestrial contact, what did they share with us? The technological patents that they've developed after back engineering everything, the knowledge from the advanced races, the science they have, the interstellar travel, what did they find out? Who are they trading with? All of the stuff. That is our future. And all of that is not here, it's in the past. It's in the past. So the more we understand that, the more we can accept that, the more we can embrace that, the more that is revealed, the more our timeline will shift, because we're shifting consciousness. If enough of it is revealed, if enough of that we can accept, we have to start accepting things. Need to accept it. Don't suggest alien. Maybe we contacted it. You have to accept it. You have to get to the point where you have enough information, say, I accept it. It's not a belief, I accept it. Until otherwise, I accept it. Right? You embrace the idea. Time travel. I accept the premise. You got to take all of these sciences and technologies and ideas, right, and events, and start accepting it. That shifts consciousness. So our dirt road, remember, the timeline is not, it's a very advanced thing. The timeline can shift using consciousness. And if we can shift consciousness enough, we will get closer to the second civilization. They may not let us in, but we can get closer, and then we can accelerate. We can rescue ourselves, right? Using technology and science and ideas. We can rescue our own civilization. We may not be able to match them for some time, but we will have averted, see that? Shifting the timeline. So I don't know if the timelines can merge. I don't know if they can merge because they've been developing this stuff since the 30s, let's say 80 years. And they've touched technology that's 10,000, 100,000, a billion years ahead of us. They've been playing with it for 80 years. We haven't even seen it yet, right? 1939, they were creating synthetic humans using synthetic DNA. 1939. We didn't discover synthetic DNA until 2010. You see what I mean? So that is a shift. That's a shift in the timeline. But they have 70 years ahead of us, at least. And now we're learning to manipulate and to engineer synthetic DNA, but nowhere at the level that they were at in 1939. Imagine we had that technology. The machines to manufacture humans. Imagine we had that. That would be a shift in consciousness. But we're not going to get that. So, right, the more we embrace and understand, the more we accept, the more we push the boundaries. And we put that into our books, and we put that into our films, and we put that into our discussions. That is going to fundamentally shift the timeline using consciousness. That will prevent our imminent demise, or will delay it, or will improve the timeline. And if we keep doing it, it should be some kind of exponential growth at some point once we understand concepts, right? Software, DNA, technology, time travel. Once we can process it, and once we start eating organic food, right, and having responsible leadership, we can accelerate. We can have exponential shifts in consciousness, leading to a repaired timeline, a timeline where we don't end. It may never be the same as the second civilization, but it will be a timeline that won't end. And once we achieve that understanding, we'll have exponential growth, exponential understanding, right? Consciousness, compounded awakening. Millions of people will outdo the second civilization. So that's my solution is go back to the past and use it to improve consciousness, and then incorporate it, and then consciousness grows, and then multiply it, and then it starts to have at some point, it'll have exponential growth. The tipping point will have exponential growth, and the timeline will just start to just correct itself. Consciousness is very, very powerful. It's another technology. It's a science. We don't understand it. They do. We should value consciousness. Anything that suppresses, represses, or censors consciousness is part of their agenda. So release your consciousness. And then we can have a decent future. It doesn't matter that our future has to be repaired and improved. What matters is we prevent the dead end from occurring. So we recognize, all of these feel-good ideas are not going to change the road. We need to change the road, right? And that goes to all of this stuff that nobody wants to talk about. Extraterrestrials, time travel, spaceships, moon bases, Antarctica, hybrids, androids. All this stuff will change consciousness. Not feminism and global warming. That's the kumbaya before you drive off the cliff. Hey, we know global warming. What?